This is a message for any Democratic voter who have already cast their ballots for Hillary Clinton and who are having a bad case of buyer's remorse. In other words, you want to change your vote. Wisconsin is one of several states where you can change your early ballot. So if you live here, or in Michigan, or Pennsylvania, or Minnesota, those 4 places, you can change your vote to Donald Trump will make America great again, okay?
Good afternoon and welcome to America Talks Live Hour 2, where the most important content for this program comes from you. Your questions, comments, and observations phoned into us at 1-877-639-7629. That's 1-877-Newsmax. We just saw Donald Trump at a rally yesterday in Wisconsin, reminding early voters there that they still have time to change their ballots and hop aboard the Trump train. We'll talk more about that and other stories with our panel. But first, Ed Berliner joins us from the Newsmax TV newsroom with a news update. Ed?
Thanks, JD. 2 cops are dead in Iowa, and police have their prime suspect in custody.
They received calls on shots being fired in the area of 70th and Aurora. The first officers that arrived in that area found a police officer in a vehicle, his patrol car, and he'd been shot and he was dead.
46-year-old Scott Michael Green was taken into custody without incident. Both men were killed ambush style, attacked while sitting in their patrol cars. Latest on the new Facebook investigation, the email investigation, that is. Politico reports the Bureau never asked Hillary Clinton's top aides to turn over all of the devices her aides used during Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State. This has GOP lawmakers raising doubts about how the FBI handled their original investigation into Hillary Clinton's private email server. The FBI maintains they made a concerted effort to obtain all of Clinton's computers. And despite the fact there was no proven connection to Hillary Clinton other than her trusted aide being involved, voter trust in the Democrat is quickly eroding. Clinton and Donald Trump were recently tied in a previous Washington Post ABC News poll in terms of honesty and trustworthiness. New numbers show Trump now leads Clinton there by 8 points. For all the latest, click your way to Newsmax.com. JD, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Ed. Now to talk more politics with 6 days until Election Day. I'm pleased to be joined here on the anchor desk by our panel. We affectionately call them the cast of Lethal Weapon, The Golden Years, the consultant and the cop. Right next to me, political commentator and Newsmax insider Clarence McKee. Clarence, the president of McKee Communications. And a little further down the anchor desk, retired Florida police detective Tom Whatley. Now, gentlemen, we heard Donald Trump make that direct appeal to Wisconsin voters. For the record, here are the 7 states where early voters there can revise their early ballots. The states are Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, and Mississippi. Now, Minnesota's deadline to change that early vote was the close of business yesterday. So if you're watching us in Minnesota, time's up. The deadline for Wisconsin is Thursday. Michigan is next Monday. In Pennsylvania, absentee voters, early voters can show up and change their vote Election Day in person at the polls. The whole notion of early voting and Donald Trump making that direct appeal in Wisconsin yesterday, given that state and the fact that it's emerged as a battleground, will that appeal be effective, Clarence?
Well, Wisconsin first. I think it'll be effective. I think the down ballot, particularly with Russ Feingold, who supported Obamacare, was a very key person to vote. I think it's very important in Wisconsin because that's one of the ones he's got to take back. In Pennsylvania as well. So this was very good timing. Early voting, well, I'm from New York State, the old-fashioned way, you vote Election Day. This is one reason why I think it's good to vote on Election Day and not through all this early voting, but it's going to be a biggie.
There has been a great dispute about early voting. The thing that gets me is voting by mail. I think that's where the scam can be played, and we've got 3 states, Colorado and Washington and Oregon. You have to vote by mail. Tom, you're not here to mail it in, but your philosophy of voting out of convenience, early voting, as opposed to showing up on Election Day.
Yeah, I think it just depends on where you live in the geographics. As of yesterday in my county, 144,000 people have done early voting. We're not even counting, absentee ballots like my son who's overseas right now. So 144,000 people have voted, and we still have 6 days or 5 days left in early voting. It's
in
amazing.
fact, according to the numbers I've seen in Florida, as many as 3 million have, basically a third of the electorate has been involved in early voting. We'll get back to Florida in just a second, but there are other battleground states. The New York Times is reporting, as things stand right now, in North Carolina, black turnout is down 16%. In Florida, the share of the African-American electorate has gone down by 10 points. It was 25% 4 years ago, down to 15%. With this scenario, Clarence, that's bad news for Hillary, is it not?
Listen, Hillary's no Barack Obama. He excited the black base, the black voters, because he was the first black president. Hillary, with her shrill voice, is really no Barack Obama. The reason that she's at every black church and carries hot sauce with her is to get black votes. If they don't have the black vote, she's in deep, deep trouble, even if the Hispanic vote goes up and the white vote continually goes to an independence to Trump. So that's why she's all over the place.
Hillary told that hot sauce, she's in hot water. Tom,
Exactly.
that's the thing.
Exactly.
The projection models, all the pollsters are using 2012 projection models.
Correct. And also, too, with the Hillary camp, they have not forgotten when they speak of, when the black voter speaks of mass incarcerations, this was all due to her husband, Bill. And when she came out and made the public statement about criminal predators, they have not forgotten that.
Exactly.
And to that point, Eddie Glaude Jr. is the chair of the African American Studies Department at Princeton. He showed up on MSNBC's Morning Joe earlier today saying this change in African American support shouldn't be a big surprise. Here's the way he put it on MSNBC.
There are three things that we have to be mindful of here, and I think one is something that the benchmarks of 2008 and 2012 might be a bit much.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, way too high.
To think that
historically high.
I mean, you have Obama on the ticket, so to actually use that as a benchmark is unrealistic.
Can't do it.
And then, secondly, I think I think people have underestimated the level of cynicism among black voters about what's possible in American politics between 2012 and now.
Clarence, that speaks directly, although Professor Glaude wouldn't say it, the performance of Barack Obama in office. Blacks may have turned out to vote for him, but with unemployment in the black community record highs, there's not much proof of performance in this Obama presidency.
If you talk to blacks privately, they will say, he hasn't done anything for black folks. He's helped Hispanics, he's helped gays, the LGBT community. When it comes to blacks, he says, hey, put your shoes on, walking shoes, remember that? He hasn't been out there helping black folks because he was not going to be the first president of black America. He was the president of all America, but he took care of everybody else. And a lot of blacks understand that. A lot of blacks who will not tell you that.
Well, he has paid attention to Black Lives Matter and had him at the White House on a few occasions, so maybe that's where
always to further the politics of division or to try and come up with some political quotient. Now, I understand. We have got a caller from the bluegrass state of Kentucky. I believe it's Jen. Welcome to America Talks Live. Jen, what's on your mind?
Well, okay, I've got a couple of things I'd like to talk to you about. Number one is the fair trade law that they implemented here in the last 2 or 3 years. In Mexico, Audi has just finished building a 500-acre facility manufacturing and another 500 for their subcontractors. Their whole input is that they have fair trade with the United States. Secondly, in California, in 2014, they started issuing 2 million driver's licenses to illegal immigrants.
Oh, you bet. California has decided to throw in the towel. Jerry Brown, and this is the thing, and Jim, we appreciate the call. Hey, Jim, if you're still there, just one question. Are they still building Corvettes in Bowling Green, Kentucky, or is that all
bet you if they can
good?
fill up a damn hole.
Yep, that hole is bad news up there, and we hope it ain't a hole changed by the economic gravitational pull of Mexico, as you pointed out, because of course there's talk about American car manufacturers heading south of the border. This whole thing And NAFTA was voted on before I got to Congress. But it was a big bipartisan push, and now we're seeing the error of our ways where, again, as you can hear it in Jim's voice, it's as if we look beyond American workers, beyond American voters, to somehow come up with some sort of international plan. And that's why Trump is resonating with America first.
Exactly. What is our trade deficit with Mexico in the billions? One reason that there's so many, Jerry Brown wanting illegal aliens, that's what a lot are getting, driver's licenses so they can vote. Jobs are going south of the border. Trump's big appeal is getting our jobs back and saying, if you take your company down there, you're going to pay big time when you come back. It's a good argument.
And you know, Tom Whatley, during my days in Congress, we would be remiss if we didn't point out this whole indulgence with Mexico is a bipartisan failing. I remember my days in Congress with the matricula consular for the Mexicans who were coming here illegally, and the consul was saying, oh, here's your card, your matricula consular. The FBI was saying, don't allow them to have that here. It's a security risk. But the banks were leaning on Congress saying, we need this dough, we need these accounts. And you know, you see this cross purpose at work where, and this was actually post 9/11. Sure. Where the banks were saying, we want the dough, and the FBI was saying, watch out for our national security. And this continues right now, Tom. I guess it's going to be urgent. We've got about a minute here.
Well, in one of Hillary's released speeches, Goldman Sachs, it actually discusses the fact that Hillary is for open borders, and then when she tried to define that, well, that was for trade, not open borders for immigration per se. So right there, she's already touched on that subject, that she's willing to open the borders to trade. That means taking jobs out of America.
Well, not only that, but it's more than trade. And again, I'll give it up to Selwyn Duke. I'm not going to pull a Joe Biden. The observation belongs to Selwyn Duke at the American Prospector, the American Thinker, I believe was. Selwyn Duke wrote a column. You know how we used to talk in politics about get out the vote? No, that's opposite for the Democrat Party. Bring in the vote. Bring in a new vote from the third world. And that's what they're working to do, and not through legal means. Get them here as quickly as possible, then retroactively give them amnesty. And of course, that's what Hillary is promising in her first 100 days. You don't have to wait 100 days to get more information here, because when we return, the cast of Lethal Weapon, The Golden Years, the consultant and the cop, Tom Whatley and Clarence McKee, are staying right here to take more of your phone calls. There's a lot to talk about. 1-877-Newsmax, 1-877-639-7629. 6 days before the general election of 2016. Give us a call.